Welcome to Buffalo Gameday Recap. I'm Thad Brown along with AJ Feldman. And AJ, the Bills, they came to Seattle and they whooped some butt. I was excited to see this stadium. I love it. It's one of the great environments in the NFL. And the Bills, frankly, robbed my experience of what I was hoping to get. That's all I'm going to remember about this game is the fact that I wanted to see Lumen Field going bananas, and the Bills played so well, we pretty much didn't see it after the fourth down stop near the goal line where Seattle was down 7-3, couldn't score any points. So I was disappointed. That's the most important thing that happened in this game.
Certainly, that is what the historians will write about when they talk about this game. Like you said, they started hot. They never really, took their foot off the gas. That's been the big story the last month or so is these slow starts. Well, the Bills go out and, they stop Seattle a 3-and-out on their first drive. They answer with a 14-play, 90-yard drive. And, that was kind of the theme of the day. The Bills just kind of punished the Seahawks. You tweeted this out about being lucky and being good. The expression is, you'd rather be lucky than good. Well, the Bills were kind of both today.
Yeah, we'll talk about the lucky part in a minute. Let's start with the good. There's any number of ways you could go with this. I think that the guys up front, both sides of the ball deserve a ton of credit. I mean, the Bills ran it at will. James Cook was over 100 yards. I don't know if they got the 200 as a team. It doesn't matter. The number was huge. And they essentially took away Seattle's run game, which I thought would be a pretty sizable factor. I mean, Kenneth Walker's a good back. I thought that's something that the Seahawks would want to rely on. No Dwayne Carter, no Terrel Bernard. It seemed like no DK Metcalf. It seemed like that was the logical play. And I think the Seahawks maybe could have tried a few more runs, but it didn't matter. I think the Bills were, 15 for 20 run yards allowed, at least before the last drive where Seattle finally did score a touchdown. A touchdown that didn't matter. So, again, both sides of the ball up front, the Bills absolutely dominated this game. And that's before we get into the skill guys where there were 100-yard games left and right.
Yeah, the Seattle running backs with 12 carries for 16 yards on the day. And I was with you. I thought this was going to be a big Kenneth Walker game. No Terrel Bernard. That run defense is, kind of struggled when he's not been in the lineup. It's kind of struggled when he's been in the lineup, quite frankly. So that was really the area of the game where Seattle, you would think, would have had the advantage, but no, they just couldn't take advantage of the opportunities when they got them. Eventually, the game got out of hand and they started to abandon the run. Geno Smith, he's been leading a pretty explosive passing attack. An efficient day, 21 for 29, but only 212 yards through the interception to Austin Johnson. No explosive plays. The longest play that Seattle had in this game was just 20 yards. So the Bills were just doing a good job of containing Seattle. And on a day where it was raining for much of the play, you give them enough opportunities to screw up, and Seattle found ways to, shoot themselves in the foot with this slippery ball out there.
Before we come off the defense, and I don't want to take away, I mean, you hold an NFL team to 10 points, it's a big deal. But obviously, the Seahawks are quite a bit lesser without DK Metcalf. But I think another thing that you take from this game is that this is the second time we've seen the Bills face a good passing offense, good quarterback. Maybe not great, but good. And the Rasul Douglas, Christian Benford corner tandem just owned the two receivers who were left after the big guy got hurt. I'm referring to the Houston game because to me, when Nico Collins went out, that was advantage Buffalo. And in this game, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, I know JSN had decent numbers, but this was a game where the Bills were 100% better on the outside. And when you have those two corners to where, unless you have an elite player, a Metcalf, Nico level, you're not going to win. And again, I think we've seen it more than once. I think we know where those guys are. They're one of the better duos in the league, and they proved it again today.
Yeah, you have to have a lot of firepower to be able to overpower the Bills cornerback, certainly this year. There's not many teams that'll be able to do it. Certainly on the schedule, there's some that have, talent out there. The Rams, obviously, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, maybe the best duo they're going to face the rest of the year. The Jets, Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson, but who knows what the Jets are going to look like in week 17.
They might be trading Devontae Adams soon. We'll see how that goes. San Fran would be the other one. I know Ayuk's done for the year, but you can make a good argument. If McCaffrey's back, Debo Kittle McCaffrey would be a good triumvirate. But yeah, this Bills team, when it comes to the corners, they're going to have the advantage most of the rest of the year on from a weapons point of view. Now let's talk about weapons, because to me, I think the biggest takeaway from this game, from my point of view, is that the Bills 2 weeks ago went out and grabbed Amari Cooper, basically saying to you that we don't believe our receiving / offensive weapons are good enough, that we need a guy. Not only do we need another guy, we need an elite guy. We need a top guy. Well, in this game, Amari Cooper had 1 catch for 3 yards, played 50% of snaps, and the Bills still had ridiculous numbers left and right. Dalton Kincaid scored a touchdown. Dawson Knox, 2 big plays. Khalil Shakir over 100 yards. Keon Coleman out-muscled Tariq Woolen for a one-on-one for a touchdown. James Cook had 100 yards. If the Bills are going to get this kind of production from the other guys, finger quotes, this offense, the sky's the limit right now. And again, Seattle's not exactly the 85 Bears, but you still went out and dominated a team in their building with your ace guy, your number 1 guy, being mostly irrelevant.
Yeah, and you and Carl talked about on your Let's Talk Ball, trimming the fat. Well, Curtis Samuel didn't play today. They didn't try and, insert someone in his spot. And, what Jalen Virgil, I think it was, who was called up from the practice squad. They didn't try and, get cute there. Matt Collins didn't have a target in the entire game. So they went with the guys and they went with them in their strengths. Khalil Shakir, the screen passes, maybe the most positive screen passes the Bills have had in many, many years. I think that's definitely something they can continue to do going forward. Shakir is a guy who can get yards after the catch, with some good frequency. So that's certainly a good weapon for them. Keon Coleman, I tweeted out on the first goal line fade. They haven't really used Coleman at the goal line, and like we saw it in training camp and one-on-ones, obviously they hadn't really used that very much. Well, it gets stopped based on a pretty good defensive play there. 2 plays later, they go back to him and he catches the touchdown. So that, that's his strength. Dawson Knox, like you said, a couple big plays. Dalton Kincaid, stops his route as he's going basically into a defender, comes back. Josh Allen extends the play. He hits him for the touchdown. Just all of the pieces were working together in good harmony. And once you get Amari Cooper, more implemented into the offense, you add that extra weapon. Like you said, they certainly clicked very well today.
I think you make a good point too, and credit to Joe Brady about using these guys with their strengths. I know Shakir had the one, 30-yarder down the field, but most of his day today was short and run after the catch, short and run after the catch. He's very good there. Keon Coleman, use him in the end zone, like you said, like we saw, in training camp as a physical target. And then they got him in the slot a little bit. The one play down the seam, Coleman's had trouble against press coverage. Well, put him in the slot so you can get him a free release, let him run downfield and find space. And then he even had an opportunity after the catch. Dawson Knox, was a factor, kind of not a I don't want to say like a trick play, but they used him strategically. So Joe Brady did a nice job moving the pieces in and out, finding the right job, finding the right use for these guys today. And then on top of that, let's talk about the lady luck part of this, because, like I tweeted at halftime, the Bills deserve to be ahead 14-3. I don't know if that was the right number, whatever. But that game easily could have been 14-7 Seattle, with the Seahawks having 1st and 10 around the 20-yard line. But instead, the Seahawks go down the field, down 7-0. They get the 1st and goal at the 3, and Geno Smith has the ball snapped 40 yards over his head. They get an interception. Yeah, they got a 4th down stop. Give the Bills credit. 3rd and goal from the 1. I mean, that's a play that the Bills defense has owned this year to set up the 4th down. But then on 4th down, Geno falls over one of his own guys. Then Josh Allen fumbles the ball, and the ball rolls between Seattle defenders as if it was a Tage Thompson pass in the slot to Ty Johnson, who covers up for a 1st down. I mean, even if 2 of those plays go the other way, this is a heck of a lot more competitive game. And then even in the second half, and, not to say this is lucky stuff, but you get the Keon Coleman blocking the DB all the way to the bench. That's a flag on Keon. I mean, the offensive linemen all loved it. I get that. But then you also get the retaliatory flag to knock it away. Taron Johnson hits Geno Smith late. That should have been a flag. Instead, Geno taunts. He gets the penalty, So the Seahawks were incredibly undisciplined to help out this Bills effort. The Bills, bottom line, they were good. They were a lot better. But, boy, they had just about everything bounce their way in this game as well.
I would have to take a look at the Taron Johnson play again. It kind of seemed from my perspective that they kind of just ran into each other. They took up each other's space. I don't know exactly how much of a hit there was there. But like you said, you have to be in position for the luck to happen. The 4th down, they stopped him on 4th and goal. Well, they had the ball 1st and goal at the 7. You have to stop him 3 more times to get into that position. And, Ty Johnson does a good job of jumping on that ball, which Josh Allen kicked, as I called the best kick by a Buffalo Bill this season so far,
Yes.
Getting it up to Ty Johnson. So, it's the football is shaped oddly for a reason. It's going to take some funny bounces. Things are going to happen. It's a wet ball. Crazy things happen out there, and the Bills took advantage of it. And like you said, it could have been a lot closer, but it's just the way the game's played sometimes.
Right. But I think it's worth bringing up.
Totally. It's a big story of this game.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah, I mean, I get the crazy bounce stuff, but it's notable that just about the whole thing went one team's way. And then look, there's going to be games that bounces out, whatever. Understood. But in this particular game, part of the reason, the explanation of why the Bills dominated was because not only were they good, but they got a lot of things to bounce their way.
Certainly.
All right. Beyond that, I think that's pretty much the notable players from this game. I don't have anybody else beyond. I mean, I feel like we're glossing over the D a little bit, in a performance where they really dominated. I didn't think anyone really stood out. Now I'm on the field, and also looking through raindrops and it's not, as AJ will explain to anybody who wants to know, this was not the most fun game to be on the field for sure. But anybody else from this game that really think merits discussion or a little shout out here at the end of this?
Greg Rousseau, that first drive was kind of all him stopping, things with
Yes.
two batted balls. You talk about setting the tone and getting out to a fast start. Greg Rousseau was, a massive part in doing that. And also the linebackers. We talk about, shutting down the Seattle run game without Terrel Bernard. Well, Balen Spector and, Dorian Williams, I'm sure it wasn't perfect out there, but to have that type of game without, one of your best defensive players, your play caller, your middle linebacker, your captain, I think that speaks volumes to the linebackers who were out there today.
Yeah, and that quick start stuff the guys talked about in the locker room, that something they worked on in practice, something that was a focus all week, and like you said, Rousseau had a big part in that defensively for the Bills, but it was an impact. It was an energy driver for this team, and I think they, not that they didn't understand it or believe it to begin with, but there was clearly an impact of, hey, if we can get up 7-0, it's good for us and it's helpful. And the guys did talk about it afterward in the locker room. So big picture for this, Bills are now 6-2, and I'd like to congratulate the Bills for winning the AFC East for the 5th year in a row, because that division is done now after the Jets and Dolphins both lost at home to teams that they should not be losing to, that they consider themselves playoff teams. So Buffalo now, as we've seen with them over the last few years, maybe didn't expect it this year, but this is a team now that's looking at the conference, frankly. I know that the Bills won't say so, and the math, backs them up. It's going to be a few more weeks before they officially clinch, but this division is done, and I think the point to be made here, other than, the disappointing starts for the Jets and Dolphins, is that Miami and the Jets, Miami had a quarterback injury, so we'll throw them out of this a little bit, but the Jets are finding a way to lose, and the Bills are finding ways to win, and yeah, we're some of the things that happened in this game fortunate, sure, but like you said, they're winning with backup linebackers. They're winning with not needing Amari Cooper. They're winning with, running the ball for $180 or whatever it was. So that's how you obviously stay successful. And, this year, because of I think there's a giant chasm between how the Bills operate and how the rest of the teams in the division operate. And it creates a nice little cushion for Buffalo, even in a year where we thought they might be taking a little bit of a step back.
Yeah, they've got cushion in the division. Like you said, it's basically theirs. Now you start looking at the other teams, one game back of the Chiefs right now in the win column, and obviously they'll play the Chiefs at Highmark Stadium. And I do want to point this out because I was interested in it when the Bills are basically going to win their 5th straight division title. There has never been a team in NFL history in the Super Bowl era to have a divisional winning streak of 5 or more and not make the Super Bowl at least once. It's
Wow.
never been done before. It has been done where a team has won the division 5 times and they haven't made the Super Bowl, but the Rams in the 70s, they eventually, on that streak, got to the Super Bowl. So
I got you. Okay.
This would be, if the Bills can't turn this divisional success into postseason success, it would be an unprecedented, stat for this Bills team.
Even if they don't do it this year, the stat still lives because they can build a 5-year streak like the Rams did, and then eventually get there down the road, theoretically.
Yes, there's only been one other time in NFL history that a team has won the division 5 straight years and not at least made it to the Super Bowl, and that was the Rams in the 70s.
How many times has a team ever won it 5 in a row, period?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 times.
Okay. So we're not talking about 80.
Yeah,
But
and
it's still an impressive number. Yeah.
obviously some streaks are longer. The Pats won 10 times in the Brady era. So, that's could be multiple streaks of 5, but there's some, significant numbers here, and they've all gone on to much more success than the Bills have had in the playoffs.
All right, next up for the Bills, a home game with Miami. The Dolphins do have Tua back, and they can score points again. They have, a real NFL offense, but not that it ever seems to matter when the Bills face them. And at home, I think now how about this? Buffalo's a 6.5 point favorite. I was actually, AJ, a little surprised how low that number was. Am I wrong there?
I would be surprised. That I did think that was a little low as well. I think, we're more in tuned to the lopsidedness of the Bills and the Dolphins rivalry. I think maybe on paper from the outside, that number seems about right. The Bills being 4 points better, but even that, the Dolphins, they were fine today, but they still lost to the Cardinals. So it's not like they were gangbusters with Tua back. So no, I think minus 6.5, whatever, is going to be a very strong bet around Western New York parts. You can put them in your 6-point teasers, get them down to a money line. So I think a lot of Bills fans are going to be jumping on that.
Yeah, I'll be doing that soon, though, FYI, because to your point, there will be plenty of money, I think, coming in on the Buffalo side. All right, I'm all set here. Anything else from you for this game?
I think we're good to go.
All right, let's shut her down. Remember, you can always watch and listen to Buffalo Game Day Recap, RochesterFirst.com. Click on 8 Sports Extra under the Sports tab. We're also on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Next week, like we said, Bills and Dolphins at home. Hopefully the weather will be better than it was today. But still had a great time in Seattle. I love this trip. For AJ Feldman, I'm Thad Brown. We'll see you in Seattle again in 8 years. We'll see you from Miami, or from Orchard Park against Miami next week.